Hello and welcome to Foreign Desk on Benue Television. I am Susan Ayo. The headlines. Hello and welcome to Foreign Desk on Benue Television. I am Susan Ayo. African CDC declares mpox a public health emergency. Ex-Zimbabwe's First Lady is dead. Plus, High Court dismisses Prime Minister for violating Constitution. And the news in details. The African Union's health watchdog, African Center for Disease Control and Prevention, (AFRI-CDC), has declared a public health emergency over the growing mpox outbreak on the continent, saying the move is a clarion call for action. Head of the center, Jane Kasiya, disclosed this during an online media briefing on Tuesday. He said mpox has now crossed borders, affecting thousands across the African continent. According to CDC data as of August 4, there have been 38,465 cases of mpox and 1,456 deaths in Africa since January 2022. Keseya called for proactive and aggressive measures in containing and eliminating the threats. Mpox is transmitted through the close contact and causes rashes, flu-like symptoms, and post-field lesion. Most cases are mild but can kill. The disease can be dangerous for children, pregnant women, and those with suppressed immune system. The outbreak has swept through the several African countries, particularly the Democratic Republic Congo, where the virus was first discovered in humans in 1970. The African CDC warned last week that the viral infection's rate of spread was alarming. It said that more than 15,000 mpox cases and 461 deaths were reported on the continent this year so far, representing a 160% increase from the same period last year. Zimbabwe's First Lady Maureen Mwawasa has died at the age of 61. Her family said she succumbed late Tuesday after a short illness at a hospital in the capital, Lusaka. The First Lady was married to the country's third president, Levi Mwawasa, who served from 2002 until his death in 2008. President Hakainde Hichilema described her death as a deep shock. Trained as a lawyer, Mrs. Mwawasa was an active advocate for social justice, community development, and public health issues. She co-owned a law firm with her husband until he entered politics and was actively involved in her husband's successful presidential bid in 2001. Before her husband's death, in 2008, she was considered a potential candidate to succeed him, but after he died, she did not seek to stand. In 2016, Mrs. Mwawasa unsuccessfully ran for the position of mayor of Lusaka. It is not clear if she was a member of any political party before her death. She was a founding member and former president of the Organization of African First Ladies Against HIV and AIDS, currently known as the Organization of African First Ladies for Development. Her efforts in community development earned her several awards, including the International Hope Award from World Vision in 2006. A state of emergency has been declared in the Russian border region of Belgorod following attacks by Ukrainian forces. Belgorod Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said that the situation was extremely difficult due to daily shelling in the region. It followed Ukraine's surprise cross-border attack on Russia's Kursk region last week, leading to mass evacuation and a state of emergency being declared there by Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a video on Telegram, Governor Gladkov said he would be appealing to the government to declare an emergency at the federal level. He said the city of Shibokino and the village of Otsinka had been attacked by Ukrainian drones. No casualties have been reported as of yet. Russia says it shot down 117 drones overnight, which mainly targeted 4 regions. In a statement on Wednesday morning, Mr. Gladkov said there had been 23 drones attacked over the past 24 hours in Belgorod. He added that 1 civilian had been wounded as a direct result of the drone attack in the urban Shebelkinskyi district. On Tuesday, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said troops had advanced further into Russian territory, while Army Chief Oleksandr Syrskyi claimed Kyiv had over control 40 square meters with 74 settlements taken. Russia was so far struggled to halt the Ukrainian advance, with almost 200,000 Russians having fled their homes in parts of the Kursk region. You're watching Foreign Desk on Benue Television. Let's take a quick break. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. Police in New Zealand are racing to trace sweets containing potentially lethal levels of methamphetamine after they were distributed by a charity in Auckland. The anti-poverty charity said up to 400 people may have received the sweets from Auckland City Mission as part of the food parcel. It added that the sweets were donated anonymously by a member of the public in a sealed retail package. At least 3 people, including a child, sought medical attention afterwards, though none are currently in hospital. According to New Zealand Drug Foundation, each individual suite could have a street value of around $601. Police said that while the incident could be accidental rather than targeted operation, they had not drawn any conclusion as it is a bit earlier to say. The charity alerted the authorities Tuesday after being alerted by the recipients about the funny testing suites. Chief Executive Auckland City Mission Helen Robinson said that some of the charity's staff members tried the suites themselves and agreed with the complaints and started to feel awkward afterwards. In a statement, the foundation said they had found about 3 grams of the methamphetamine in a suite that was sent for testing. According to foundation, methamphetamine can cause chest pain, racing heart, seizure, hypothermia, delirium, and loss of consciousness. The mission distributed around 50,000 food parcels a year, and only commercially manufactured food are included in the parcels. Police have asked people that have sweets wrapped in brand Rinder's yellow pineapple flavor packaging to contact them immediately. United States Ambassador to the United Nations has said U.S. is aiming to turn the temperature down to the Middle East as fears of Iranian retaliatory attack on Israel looms. Linda Thomas-Greenfield Tuesday told the UN Security Council in New York the U.S. wanted to deter and defend against any future attack and avoid regional conflict. There are fears Iran could retaliate against Israel following July's assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Although Israel has been quiet about its involvement, U.S. President Joe Biden suggested reaching the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas in Gaza would help deter Iran from launching an attack on Israel. A new round ceasefire talk is scheduled to take place in either Doha or Cairo on Thursday. According to a report, Hamas official in Lebanon, Ahmed Hadi, has said Hamas would not take part in the talks. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken postponed plans to travel to the Middle East on Tuesday to participate in negotiations on the Gaza ceasefire deal. International mediators from the U.S., Egypt, and Qatar have been pushing for an agreement that could see Israeli hostages released to their families in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in Israel jails. Meanwhile, Washington has also approved new arms sales worth $20 billion into Israel. At the Security Council meeting in New York, Ms. Thompson-Greenfield called for a ceasefire deal to be finalized, but Palestinian ambassador to the UN, Riyad Mansour, accused the Security Council of not doing enough to stop Israel's military operation in Gaza. Israeli Ambassador Gilad Erdan said that the Israeli military took every possible measures to minimize collateral damage and accused Hamas of using civilians and human shields. He also criticized the Security Council for not condemning the action of Iran. Israel launched a military campaign in Gaza to destroy Hamas in response to an unprecedented attack on southern Israel on October 7, during which about 1,200 people were killed and 251 were taken hostage. Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has fended off a primary election challenged in the Minnesota, avoiding a fate made by other members of her political squad. Ms. Omar faced the challenger in the primary contest to determine the party's nominee and will now continue to the November election in the state's solidly Democratic line in 5th District. The race had been closely watched, and after successful primary challenger elsewhere took down 2 fellow members of the squad, a group of progressive Democrats who have been among the most vocal critics in Congress of Israel war in Gaza. She went on to say this was a case of fighting for health care, housing, and for peaceful and equitable world. Hers was one of the several primary races on Tuesday to Connecticut, Wisconsin, and Vermont, as well as Minnesota. The Democratic senior senator Amy Klobuchar also won her own primary in Minnesota. According to report, Ms. Omar won her contest with more than 65,000 votes of the several shares, coming across as Don Samuels, a former member of the Minneapolis City Council who also narrowly lost as to Ms. Omar in 2022. He received just under 43% of the votes this time and said he was very disappointed. Ms. Omar, who was born in Somalia, is one of the first Muslims to be elected to the U.S. Congress. She had been an outspoken critic of Israel even before the war in Gaza. A Thai court has dismissed Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin for appointing to his cabinet a former lawyer who was once jailed. In May, the court has accepted a petition filed by some 40 senators asking to remove the Prime Minister from his position over his appointment of Preeti Chauban, who was previously sentenced to 6 months in jail for attempted bribery. On Wednesday, 5 of the 9 judges ruled that Mr. Srettha had indeed violated the ethics of his office by appointing a lawyer who had a criminal conviction to his cabinet. Despite him quitting after just 19 days, the Constitutional Court ruled that Mr. Srettha had violated the rules on ethics with the display of defiant behavior. The 62-year-old Srettha, who had been in power for less than a year, in the third PM in the 16 years to be removed by the same court. He will be replaced by an interim leader until Thailand's parliament convenes and elects a new prime minister. Mr. Srettha's dismissal means he has now gone the way of so many other parties and administration in Thailand, felt by the disproportionate power of the country's constitutional court. Politics in Thailand is not known for its ethics. Bribery is commonplace, and ministers with more serious convictions have been allowed to serve in the past. The vote for a new prime minister will involve plenty of backroom bargaining while Thailand struggles to revive its fluttering economy. With that report, we've come to the end of our bulletin. Before we go, a recap of the top stories. African CDC has declared mpox a public health emergency. Ex-Zimbabwe's First Lady has died. Also told you that Thai court has dismissed Prime Minister for violating Constitution. Thanks for being part of Foreign Desk on Benue Television. I am Susan Ayo. Remain blessed.